Oldschool RuneScape is finally getting its first new skill after 12 plus years of this game's existence. Sailing is coming to Gielinor on November 19th. Now, I think there's no doubt this is probably going to be the biggest update Oldschool RuneScape has ever received. Being a new skill, this is a massive expansion, which will add in 30 plus new islands, new training methods, ship building, ship combat, multiple new quests, and much more. There's so much being added, and that's kind of why I'm making this video. The skill started development almost 2 years ago, and there's been so much information released about it. So we're going to try to bring it all together to show you what the sailing skill will look like. Now, what we're going to be talking about today primarily is the content that's going to be arriving at release, although we'll also be covering some of the sailing releases that will be coming in 2026 and onwards. So what is sailing? Well, at its core, it is a skill that will allow you to explore the wide seas of Gielinor. It'll unlock new content, training methods, and activities you can participate on the ocean, as well as dozens of new explorable islands with a whole host of sailing and non-sailing related content. Now, of course, because it's a new skill, how do you train it? Well, on release, there will be 4 main core sailing training methods with a couple of hybrid or alternative methods as well. Now, the most basic training method is simply trimming your sail. Roughly every 30 seconds when you're sailing around on your boat, your sail will luff. You simply then left click it to get a boost of experience and a speed boost as well. Next up here we have port tasks. Different iconic characters around Gielinor will hire you to do a certain task. They could be divided into courier tasks, which have you bring cargo from point A to B, or bounty tasks, which are kind of like a sailing slayer task or like hunter rumor type system, which will have you collecting items or taking down monsters at sea. We have shipwreck salvaging, which is the AFK option for sailing training. As long as you have a salvaging hook on your boat, you can go ahead and salvage different shipwrecks on the ocean. The salvage is even worth something because you can bring it back to a port and exchange it for some useful materials. And finally here we have the Barracuda Trials, which is similar to like a race or like the Hallowed Sepulchre. It will focus on precise movement and racing around a track within a certain time frame. Now those are the 4 main ones, but we also have other ways you can gain sailing experience, such as sea charting, which will offer one-time chunks of experience for exploring the oceans and seas of Gielinor. Kind of like the collection log of sailing. If you complete an entire area, you'll even get a larger chunk of experience, and some other sailing-specific rewards. There are some other skilling activities that will award sailing experience, but we'll cover those a bit later. Now, one question I think a lot of people have is, what are the experience rates going to be with sailing? Now, I've scoured through all of the dev comments, and from what I can tell, there's no exact XP rate that's been proposed. However, trying to read between the lines here, I'm going to make a guess, and this is of course just my opinion. Now, they've stated it's not going to be the fastest or the slowest skill, and it's going to sit somewhere between runecrafting and fletching, which is every skill in existence. However, in my opinion, they've spent 2 years or more developing this skill. They're not going to release it with 500k per hour XP rates. They're just not going to do that. I'm not even sure if you're going to get 200k per hour XP rates. My guess is going to sit somewhere between 75k and 150k at the high end, but right now we don't know for sure. Now, as you level up sailing, you will also be unlocking a wide swath of new locations to explore on the ocean, but also 30 new explorable islands on release. In the beta and alpha, we're able to explore some of them. And there's even a labeled map from when the beta was released. There's stuff honestly everywhere. This map is just so cool to look at. We have Pandemonium, which is the kind of hub for sailing and houses the introductory quest. We have the Great Conch, which I tried to get onto, but they wouldn't let me. The biggest of the new islands, home to a new quest, as well as the Shellbane Griffin, a new Slayer boss. We have the Charred Island, which I was successfully able to find and explore. It includes a new dungeon with Slayer creatures, including the new Lava Strike Worm, a brand new worm Slayer creature. Way up to the north, we have Grimstone, and that's just what we know about. There's tons of new icons on the map. No clue what most of them are for, but it's going to be so exciting to explore. Now keep in mind that each new island in the Gielinorian seas will have a sailing level required to access it. So although some of this content may not have a hard sailing level requirement, almost all of the islands will require a sailing level to access it in general. As you level up your sailing, you'll also be able to upgrade your boat. There'll be 3 sizes of boats to unlock. You'll have the raft, the small boat, and the large boat, as well as tons of different upgrades. In the beta, you could upgrade your hull, your mast and sail, as well as build a few different facilities on your ship. For example, you could build a cargo hold, which will allow you to store ship salvage and some other items. You can of course build a cannon, which is used for ship combat. You can build a salvaging hook, which is of course required for shipwreck salvaging. And you can build a wind catcher and an anchor. And of course on release, there will be many other facilities. Now with sailing, we're also going to get a bunch of new skilling methods. These aren't specific sailing training methods, but we'll take advantage of, honestly, most of the existing skills. There's only a few that aren't used. Sailing will affect fishing, cooking, fire making, wood cutting, farming, hunter, slayer, fletching, crafting, thieving, herblore, construction, and combat. So that's actually like the majority of the skills, which is awesome. Some of the new skilling methods include lantern fishing, which is essentially a new way to fish at harpoon spots. You'll equip a lantern and allow you to fish different squids. We have deep sea trawling, which is going to be a sailing/fishing skilling activity. So another way to train sailing, of course. And this will have you explore the vast ocean looking for these big fish shoals, allowing you to get some new exotic and best in slot fish. We'll explain later. We have crab hunting expeditions, which is a new hunter training method that will have you bait crab traps and allow you to catch 3 different types of crabs. There'll be a way to get improved cannonball smithing. With 81 smithing, you will unlock the Brittle Island, which will be home to a special cannonball smithery. This will reduce the time to smith cannonballs from 8 ticks down to 4 ticks, and it will stack with a double cannonball mold, which is actually just a massive upgrade. You'll be able to plunder pirates, which will be a bunch of new NPCs on different islands. There'll be pirate chests you can find, and there'll be these new merchant stalls. These will be similar to existing thievable stalls, except they will never deplete, and there'll also be a new cannonball stall. And on top of that, as you explore the new islands, there's definitely going to be new training spots for existing methods. Like for example, some of the islands will have chinchompas on them, existing ores and trees, and slayer creatures. But we don't care about existing resources. What are the new ones? Well, sailing is going to introduce so many new resources. The blog post is actually titanic. But while they're introducing tons of new resources, they're also going to incorporate existing ones to integrate the skill further into the world. The resources will be used for ship building and upgrading, as well as for new potions, weapons, and much more. Now first up here we have some new hardwood trees. These are going to come in 4 variants: Jatoba, Campor, Ironwood, and Rosewood, which will be used to make new planks to upgrade your ship. You can of course burn them for fire making experience, or fletch them into some new lower tier blowpipes. We'll talk about those later. Sailing will introduce some new ores as well. We have lead ore, rubium ore, and nickel ore, which will pretty much exclusively be used to upgrade your ship, as well as craft new sailing exclusive cannonballs. Now fishing is probably getting the most amount of content. Now there's going to be lantern fishing, which we already touched on, as well as deep sea trawling, which will introduce a bunch of new consumable fish items. And there's a couple really interesting ones here. We have halibut, which is going to be the new highest combo food, which is similar to carambons, except these will heal 20 HP. We have the bluefin tuna, which heals 22 HP and restores 5 prayer points, which is really interesting. I'm sure there's going to be uses for that. And probably the most notable one is the marlin, which will now be the highest single eat hard food in the game, healing 24 HP. There's also going to be a bunch of new potions added as well, and some of these are going to be game changers, no doubt. We have super fishing potions and super hunter potions, which will get you a +6 in the relevant skill. Kind of first of its kind. We have extended stamina potions, which will give you a 70% run reduction for 4 minutes. And probably the biggest one is the Armadillo Brew, which is a slightly weaker Sarah Brew, but it boosts your range level with a range potion. So it's actually just insanely good. I mean, imagine the Inferno, you just bring these, you don't need anything else. I mean, they do nuke your defense, so actually you do have to be somewhat mindful. Farming is also getting a ton of new content as well, with the new coral nurseries, which is going to be used to farm the new herblore ingredients. There'll be new hop patches, you can grow your own hardwood tree patches, and this is all going to tie into shipbuilding and the greater sailing ecosystem. And the production skills, smithing, construction, and crafting aren't going to be ignored as well. You'll be able to make new planks for your ship, smith new parts, and smith cannonballs, and craft other components for shipbuilding. Just tons of stuff there. We're skipping through some of it. There's just so much to cover. Now, on top of all of these resource items, we are of course going to get some new unique items as well. And these are primarily going to come from a whole host of new Slayer creatures. And let's start with one we already mentioned, and that is the new lower tier blowpipes. These are going to be made with the new hardwoods, camphor, ironwood, and rosewood. They will of course be weaker than the toxic blowpipe. They won't poison and they don't have a special attack, but they'll fill in a nice slot in the mid game. Now next up we have two new unique items that are going to be dropped from a new Slayer boss, the Shellbane Griffin. This will be located on the Great Conch, and will drop a new stab weapon, the Bell's Folly. This is going to be kind of like the stab equivalent of the zombie axe, similarly having an attack speed of 5 and requiring 70 smithing to fix it. There will of course also be regular griffins which you can kill on a Slayer task, and those will drop the Horn of Plenty. This will be a new offhand item which can give you an invisible +4 hunter boost, as well as having the ability to have a 1 in 10 chance at a double catch. Another Slayer creature that's going to be added is the Aquanite. This will require 78 Slayer as well as 73 Sailing to access the island. And it will drop the new Aquanite Hopper. This will be a new ranged offhand that provides a 10% chance for a crossbow bolt to fire twice. Keep in mind the second bolt will have reduced damage. But on top of that, it has pretty good baseline stats as well, providing a +12 range attack and even 1 range strength. There's also going to be a high tier shipbuilding material called the Dragon Sheet, and this will be dropped from 2 new Slayer creatures, the Lava Strike Worm and the Frost Dragon, and will require either a worm task for Lava Strike Worms or upwards of 87 Sailing to access Frost Dragons, so you won't be fighting these for a while. Now with the skill, there's also going to be, of course, some new quests. We know about a few of them, but there sounds like there's going to be like a half dozen or more on release. We have the Pandemonium, which is the introductory quest for Sailing. That one was accessible in the beta. There'll be a quest called the Troubled Tortugans, which will introduce the new turtle race, the Tortugans, and I believe will be required to kill the new Griffin boss. Okay, so now for a few miscellaneous things I've collected about Sailing that I think are interesting. Firstly, ship combat. We don't know too much about it yet, but what's really notable is your cannon, when it fires, you get Sailing experience and ranged experience. But if you hire crewmates to fire the cannon for you, you only get Sailing XP, which is interesting. You can have 5 crewmates on your boat at a time, either NPCs or friends, and they can help you man the boat and facilities. Now currently I'm not sure how efficient that will be compared to just solo sailing. Does everyone get the XP split? Is it kind of just like being on 5 separate boats merged into one? Another question a lot of people had is, what is going to happen with bank space, because there's so many new items being introduced? Well, luckily they are going to increase it. Straight up, you're going to get 100 extra bank spaces, plus 10 extra per bank unlock, which adds up to nearly 200 extra spaces, which should be more than enough for all the new items. If you have a max cape, what will happen when Sailing comes out? Well, it'll be unequipped. Similar to a quest cape, you will not be able to use it until you remax. Worth noting though is if you have a cosmetic variant like a Infernal Max cape, you will be able to detach your Infernal cape. So you won't be locked behind Sailing to re-equip your Infernal cape, which is nice. Another cool thing is there will be a Sailing pet. Here are the options. Which one do you like most? Personally, I kind of like the crab with a ship bottle on its back, but I just like the simplicity of the turtle as well. And finally, it looks like there's going to be a teleport to boat spell and unlockable dock teleport locations as well, just making it easier to get around to different boats. So that is it for all of the updates that are going to be coming on November 19th. I'm really looking forward to it. One thing I think they nailed is integrating existing skills into Sailing. I mean, it takes advantage directly of at least half of them. One question mark I still have though is for quests, like, are we going to retroactively add Sailing requirements to older quests? That feels kind of awkward, but like a quest like Bon Voyage, Rum Deal, those should naturally have Sailing requirements on them. I'm curious to see what they do with that. But similar to Varlamore, Sailing is going to be something they work on well into 2026 and beyond. So there'll be a ton of new Sailing content coming even after November. For example, in early 2026, we're going to be getting a second Tortugan quest and a new type of port task. In the summer of 2026, the plan is to have a small-scale boss at sea. One thing I'm really curious about sailing is, are we going to be able to get buy-in from PvMers and PvPers to have an actual legitimate boss on your boat? Like, is ship movement going to be precise enough to design complicated boss fights on the ocean? I mean, on release, all of combat is very simple, like early old school, just click on something and wait until you kill it. Your boat can't activate protection prayers as far as I'm aware, so it seems pretty bare bones for now. But when they added an actual boss, can we have unique or interesting mechanics to make it actually feel like PvM or PvP on the ocean? Later in the year, we're going to be getting a new Barracuda trial, which is good, just fleshing out one of the high-intensity training methods. And a sequel quest for an existing storyline that's pretty vague. So those are things they have planned in the near future, but what could sailing look like further into the future? Well, ship PvP is something they talked about a lot. Is it going to be more than just a meme or something to do for fun? Could it actually be as complex as regular PvP? Hard to imagine, but I mean, it would be so fun to just shoot cannonballs at someone who just accidentally went into a PvP zone on your boat. That'd just be hilarious. We could have colossal boats, which would be a party-sized boat. Not really sure what functionality a bigger boat would actually have, but could be interesting. New hybrid training methods. This is probably what I'd be most excited about. Something like sea monster hunting, which could be a sailing or slayer method. Mineral dredging, which could be sailing/mining. These are things that were actually mentioned in the original blog, but just they didn't have time to implement them. I think adding in new training methods is probably one of the most core things they should be focused on updating. And another thing they could add is a sailing guild. Who knows what would go in there yet, but they are thinking of making it the Barracuda headquarters, which we actually can see on the map. I mean, each skill guild is a bit different in Old School. It's kind of hard to picture what would be in there so early because we don't even know what the skill is like. And many skills didn't get a guild until a decade or more later, so I think it's worth definitely waiting on that one. And finally, interactive NPC ships. That would be so cool. Imagine just having NPCs kind of going around like, Wind Waker-esque. They could have unique items, or you could plunder them for loot. I mean, on release, there's going to be so many people everywhere. But a year later, having some NPCs on the ocean to interact with, I think would help make it feel more alive. So anyway, that is everything we know about sailing, more or less. Even with everything in this video, there's still tons that they're not directly mentioning. Tons of islands we don't know about, Easter eggs and stuff that will be really cool to discover on launch. I'm really excited for it. Again, sailing comes out on November 19th. Will the skill be perfect on launch? Probably not. So I'm tempering my expectations a bit, but I do trust the Old School team that they will develop it into a genuinely good skill and maybe one of the best skills. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.